Happy very first day of March. I hope you're doing so well today. Um, Pardon my voice. I'm sick. I can't have gluten, but it's Girl Scout season, and I had some Thin Mints, and I shouldn't have um, because it inflamed my tissue lining and turned into an infection. But silver lining, it got me thinking about what I want to talk to you about this month, and that is um, seeking proper medical intervention for your healing journey. Um, and also, I'll get into it a little bit later, but why I don't believe in disorders, um, in mental health disorders. But I'll get into that in a little bit. Um, but a little bit of background on my own healing journey and why I know seeking proper medical intervention is important. Um, Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. This is not a replacement for medical advice. This is simply me sharing with you my own journey and the importance of medical intervention that I learned along the way. So, seeking a proper ND, homeopath, functional medicine practitioner, someone like that is very different than a Western medical practitioner. And I believe that that's important because the way they view health and intervention is a little bit more, in my experience, spot on, and it's a little bit out of the box. And that's important because when you're getting things done like salivary tests, urine tests, blood tests, thyroid tests, they're going to view it a little bit differently, and they're going to treat you a little bit differently. And that's important, right? Because if traditional medicine worked the way it should, you wouldn't be here right now. You're looking for something alternative. You're just looking for a different approach. And I believe that those types of approaches are going to be more successful. I found my ND about 8 or 9 years ago, and we've done a lot of work together since then. I don't see him as much now because I'm more in control of my health. I've done a lot of the hard work, and so now I just see him every once in a while, maybe when something's a little bit too difficult. Or for instance, I just got a lot of blood work done and hormone testing done because of my competing, right? So I want to make sure I'm balanced while I'm going through this transition. But in the very beginning of my healing journey, I came to him because I was on disability and very, very depressed. I couldn't move my body. It's affecting my mental health. So I went to him and we did a lot of tests and found out some amazing information. One of the first things we did was an elimination diet. That's where I found I was, intolerant to gluten and a few other things like dairy. And I found, oh my gosh, I stopped getting ear infections like 8 times a year once I stopped cutting out gluten. I'd eat gluten, immediately it would swell inside my left ear, which is where I would get all my ear infections. That stopped. And that's simple, right? That's just an elimination diet. We did a salivary test, and that's where I found confirmation for what I already knew. I don't do well in the mornings. People who know me really well know that I don't like mornings. I always just thought that's just how it was, but there was an actual biological component for why that was. My body does its thing in a different way than a lot of other people who can just get up and be fine. My body is not like that. And so once we started doing these tests and finding things out about how my body functions, I made sense to myself and I stopped beating myself up for what I thought I should be, you know, or stopped taking crap from people who thought I should be a certain way, too. You know, people want to give me a bunch of crap about gluten. No, I know what I'm talking about because I have science experience and all the different experimentation I did on myself to find out what's true. And that's what matters. You know, I don't like getting up in the morning. I'm sorry. It's hard. I'm grumpy. I don't necessarily mean to be a pill. And I've done a lot of work over the years to be able to wake up better, to not be so grumpy. But I don't have to apologize for that. And I also don't have to take people's crap who give me shit for not being able to wake up early, you know, or having to schedule things later in my day, right, to accommodate literally how my body functions. And this is important because when you're trying to heal yourself, you want to find out what isn't working, right? You're not just going to walk into a situation and think you know everything when you don't. Do you know how your body functions? Do you even know that how your body functions could affect your mental health? And so, do you know maybe what foods you're eating are affecting how many times a year you get sick, or how your brain functions, or how your gut functions? Like, do you know that that is even related? I didn't at the time. When I first started seeing my ND, I didn't know that I couldn't tolerate gluten. I just thought, my body sucks. I get sick so many times a year with the same thing, and no doctor can ever help me. All they do is give me antibiotics that don't help. Like, oh well, I'm going to be like this forever. But that's not true. And I really, really, really want to impress this upon you and the world, that this is a huge deal when it comes to mental health. It's a huge deal because disorders are used as a way to label people, and then the people with the labels get stuck there. You have anxiety, you have depression, that's a crazy schizophrenic person. Oh shit, that person's bipolar, stay away from them. When you don't have to stay that way. You don't have to stay sick. You don't have to stay trapped in who this therapist or this doctor tells you that you are, because you are not that. You are not just someone with depression. You are not just someone with anxiety. You aren't. A disorder is a classification of symptoms. It's a way to say, I'm seeing these collection of things affecting your life. This collection of symptoms is called this: depression, right? For example, you are not forever depressed, but that's how our society has trained us to believe things will be and things are. And I'm here to say that's not true, because it wasn't true for me, which means it can also not be true for you. And so when you are healing yourself and you're getting blood tests or salivary tests or whatever it is that your alternative practitioner has you take, I want to impress upon you how liberating it will be. It will be amazing, right? Just think that, yeah, I have depression, but I don't always have to have depression, right? And my depression isn't my fault. My anxiety is not my fault. It's how my body functions. And I can take control of that. I can fix it with the information I'm going to get from these tests and from my doctor. And I'll have someone else on my team who knows, and that's the important thing, someone on your team who knows that that disorder is just a classification and they're going to help you to deal with it. Not like a regular doctor or a regular therapist who says you have depression and let's do therapy forever. Fuck no. I love therapy. I still get therapy done every now and again when I need it. But I don't need it all the time every day because I know how to manage my health and I know how to manage my mental health. And I've done the hard work and I'm doing the hard work every day. So I really want to point out this book is a book I bought. My ND had it in his office and he would reach for it a lot and talk about it. And so I bought it and I read it. It's called Nutrient Power, Heal Your Biochemistry and Heal Your Brain. And this is one of the reasons that my approach to health is so food-centered. Because it is usually a lack of certain vitamins or minerals that play a role in how your body functions and in how your brain functions. For instance, like sailors back in the day, they had scurvy, right? Because they didn't have enough vitamin C. So imagine if they just thought they had scurvy and they had scurvy forever and there was nothing they could do about it. Well, someone figured out that scurvy was just a lack of vitamin C, so you need to eat your oranges, right? It's the same thing. Your depression, your anxiety can be healed with vitamins. And this is true for me because my depression is one of these types of depression. And I'll just go through this a little bit briefly, but just to give you an idea of what I mean, that your disorder could be predominantly biochemistry based. And I'm not invalidating trauma. I'm not invalidating, real life stress or anything like that. But I'm saying from very early, a body could be predisposed to being a certain way because of how you function. So maybe you're more predisposed to stress, like stress affects you more, or sadness affects you more, or maybe the reason you don't like to wake up in the morning, all of these things are kind of linked. And I'll read this briefly, but I'm going to speak out of the book on depression because this is what applied to me. So this table I showed you here is depression biotypes. There's undermethylation, folate deficiency, copper overload, and pyrrole disorder. And it lists, so those are the depression biotypes. So if you have depression, it could be grouped into one of these biotypes. And then there's two others here that say other and toxics, right? So undermethylation is 38% of people with depression. Folate deficiency is 20% of people with depression. Copper overload is 17%. Pyrrole disorder is 15%. Other is 5%, and toxics is 5%. So if you have depression, it could be because of one of these groups of things. For me, it was pyrrole disorder. I'm in the 15%. And it also lists here the neurotransmitter activity. So for undermethylation, you have reduced serotonin and dopamine. Serotonin is the feel-good feeling, right? If you don't have the feel-good feeling, you're not going to feel good, and you're going to be sad, and you're going to be depressed. Folate deficiency, elevated serotonin, dopamine. Copper overload, elevated norepinephrine. Pyrrole disorder, reduced serotonin, and GABA. I'll read from the pyrrole disorder just a little bit because that's what I had. So that's what I'm going to speak about. Approximately 15% of the 2,800 persons in our depression database exhibited elevated pyrroles. Most pyrolurex experience about 50% of the following symptoms and traits: severe mood swings, inability to cope with stress, rages, absence of dream recall, sunburn tendency and inability to tan, morning nausea, sensitivity to bright lights and loud noises. Many persons with severe pyrrole disorder have slender wrists, ankles, and neck, while having great amounts of fat at their midsection and upper thighs. Female pyrolurex may report disturbed menstrual periods or amenorrhea. They are persons with depression biotype are prone to delayed puberty. Other symptoms include great inattention, reading disorders, academic underachievement regardless of intelligence. They tend to be fearful and pessimistic persons and isolate themselves from others. Many persons with this biotype are diagnosed with rapid cycling bipolar disorder because of extreme mood swings that may occur many times daily. Most pyrolurex live in a world of fear and are obsessed with disasters. Persons with pyrrole disorder suffer from a double deficiency of zinc and vitamin B6 that may be genetic in nature. This results in a tendency for low brain levels of serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, which are a recipe for depression and anxiety, which explains me very well. I had insane menstrual cycle in puberty. I was getting it twice a month for years. I felt sick in the morning, so I never ate breakfast, which, that isn't good. Not starting off your day not eating breakfast. Intense depression, intense anxiety, isolation, right? All of these things I had. And growing up, you think something's wrong with you. You're angry all the time. You're moody. You don't feel good. Bright lights and sound is still an issue for me. And people just think you're making things up or you're too sensitive or whatever the case may be, when really there is literally a chemical reason for why that is so, and for why you are the way you are. And that's okay. And did you hear in there that the treatment for it is zinc and B6? So simple, right? Years and years of stress and trauma and having the disorder take over my life, or having your disorder take over your life, and the answer is simply zinc and B6. It kind of sucks that the answer is so easy, a little bit, but it's also amazing and liberating that the answer is so simple. And I can tell you from experience that supplementing with zinc and B vitamins and cutting out, gluten and things has made a huge difference. And then in the beginning, there were a lot more supplements than there are now. There are like immediate interventions you can take to help you function. Like I had to be on a supplemental version of lithium and something else, I don't remember. But that's also how I got into ashwagandha, was to deal with my stress. The lithium was to lift me out of my depressive mood so I could be functional. And then I had like a host of a bunch of other supplements that I had to take intensely for quite a while. And then as things evened out, as I got better, I could taper off, right? And Now I don't really need to take those things. I'll probably always have to take zinc and B vitamins, but I don't think that that's a heavy price to pay to not have to suffer with depression anymore, right? Along with other things, eating a whole foods diet, cutting out the sugar, cutting out gluten, cutting out alcohol, um, all of those things, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, getting outside, um, all play a huge part. And um, I just want to impress upon you how important getting proper blood work is with the proper ND or homeopath, because they're gonna see things differently. How many doctors and therapists do you know that depression can be biochemically based? I didn't learn that in my uh, graduate program for psychology. How crazy is that? I didn't learn that. I had to learn it a different way through my own struggles. And that's part of the reason I got out of psychology, because I was learning these things in school and I wasn't getting better. And so I had to find a different way. And a different way was with my food and with supplements and with changing my lifestyle. And so I hope that this has been a glimmer of hope for you, that you don't have to stay stuck where you are at all. It is completely within your hands to change your mental health and your physical health for the better. And it really can be something so simple as a zinc supplement, a vitamin B supplement. So I hope that this has helped you. I hope that you have a wonderful day. If you have any questions or just feel like reaching out, please do. I would love to know how this has helped you. And if you have any other things you want me to talk about, please reach out and let me know. Alrighty. Be well. Thank you.